Good afternoon, the Midday News. I am Babatunde Panopo. President Bola Tinubu has said the telecom sector's regulatory framework and operations will be reviewed to reflect global best practices with a greater focus on protecting infrastructure. President Tinubu made the assertion at a meeting with a telecom delegation led by its chairman, Sunil Bhati Mittal, at the State House. He noted that the entire ecosystem will be further examined, and if there is anything to copy from India, the country is ready to do so, stressing that Nigeria is prepared to learn. The president said that the tax reforms will create a more favorable climate for investors, adding that government is finding a way to work with tax administrators to encourage growth and opportunities. And while the Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, thanked the President for consistently supporting the telecom sector's growth. Mr. Tijani said the approval by the President for the protection of fiber optic and undersea cables as critical national assets that would further stimulate growth in the industry, assuring that the Office of the National Security Advisor has started implementing and enforcing the law. The federal government has said it is considering plans to regularize the electricity tariffs to address disparities in the current billing system for customers outside the Band A category. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, made this known at the presentation of the National Integrated Electricity Policy and Nigeria Integrated Resource Plan in Abuja. The minister added that the government is considering the option over the slow pace of migration to Band A customers, which he attributed to the reluctance of distribution companies to make the necessary investment. He stated that the tariff regulation would promote investment in the power sector amidst calls by potential investors for a cost-reflective tariff regime in the country. The proposed hike seeks to align tariffs for customers in the Band B and C categories with the 206 naira per kilowatt rate paid by Band A customers, who make up approximately 15% of the total 12.82 million power consumers nationwide. However, this plan by the government was opposed by power consumers and members of the organized private sector, who wondered why the government had continued to hike the cost of commodities in various sectors of the economy. This comes as the government admitted that it currently owes the 24 power generation companies and 11 electricity distribution companies operating in the country over 4 trillion naira in electricity subsidy. In the meantime, the chairman of the Presidential Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, has dismissed claims that the proposed tax reform bills are introducing an inheritance tax, noting that the proposed legislation only addresses family income taxation, which is said has long existed in Nigeria. Speaking at the public hearing on the tax reform bills, Mr. Oyedele said the sections which were misinterpreted as imposing an inheritance tax merely clarified the taxation of family income derived from property rent. His clarification comes amid concerns by some stakeholders that the reforms bills would introduce an inheritance tax on those who inherit money or property from a deceased person. Oyedele maintained that it was Section 4, subsection 3 of the Nigerian tax bill that was misinterpreted as introducing inheritance tax, noting that the principle was not new and is already enshrined in the Personal Income Tax Act under Section 2. While the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria commended the federal government for reintroducing 4 executive bills to reform administration in the country, It called for an end to unlawful levies by non-state actors. The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission has warned state and local government councils against adopting its remuneration report for political, public and judicial office holders without the required legislative action or enactment of state laws. Chairman of RMAFC, Dr. Muhammad Shehu, gave the warning at the opening of a one-day workshop on the role of the state executive legislature in implementing the recommendations of the RMAFC concerning remuneration packages for political, public and judicial office holders. He said the Commission had observed lapses in the implementation of the remuneration report at the state and local government levels as contained in the report of a pilot monitoring exercise it carried out in 2019. He noted that such actions contravened the constitutional provision concerning remuneration of the executive at the state and local government levels. Dr. Shehu says Section 124 of the 1999 Constitution provides that there shall be paid to the holders of the offices mentioned in this section such remuneration and salaries as may be prescribed by the House of Assembly, but not exceeding the amount as shall have been determined by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. It listed the offices to include Governor, Deputy Governor, Auditors General of State, and the Chairman and members of the State Civil Service Commissions, among others. 8 former African heads of state and government have signed a Cape Town declaration calling for debt relief for highly indebted countries and advocated lower borrowing costs for all developing countries. The declaration was signed at the launch of the African Leaders Debt Relief Initiative, which reflects the leaders' commitment to rallying for a comprehensive debt relief strategy for countries in their financial situations. The launch of the initiative took place on the sidelines of the first G20 Finance Ministers meeting in Cape Town, where the South African G20 presidency had made debt sustainability a central focus. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who led a group of former African leaders, including former President of the Republic of Malawi, Joyce Banda, former President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, and the Republic of Mauritius, Dr. Amina Garib Fakim, among others, called for intensified international cooperation to address the debt crisis and emphasized the need to reform the global financial architecture to better support developing countries. Chief Obasanjo said Africa is facing unsustainable debt burden, stressing that it is crucial that African leaders should work together to find a solution to the crisis, saying that Africa's future is intertwined with the world's future and they should synergize to resolve the debt crisis in order to drive sustainable economic development across the continent. At least 40 new federal medical centers are to be established across communities in the country if proposals before the Senate are passed into law. The Senate Committee on Health and Tertiary Institutions, chaired by Senator Ipalibo Banigo, is holding a public hearing on 40 bills, including an amendment to the Federal Medical Center Act of 2022 to provide tertiary health care to Nigerians. Communities in many states, including Taraba, Oyo, Bayelsa, Benue, Gombe, Kebbi, and Kwara, will benefit from the facilities. The Chairman, Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes Commission, Senator Emmanuel Udende, made a strong case for the establishment of the federal medical centers, said the strategic location of the health facilities would also provide potential economic benefits of trade and cultural exchange, given its proximity to the people. He urged the committee to approve the proposals to save the lives of the people and bring development to the areas. And on to sports. The management of Sunshine Stars has handed a 3-match ultimatum to the club's coaching crew following a poor run of form. The ultimatum also extends to the team manager, welfare officer, and other backroom staff. The decision was reached after an extensive assessment of the team's performance since the beginning of the second stanza of the season. Sunshine Stars have managed to secure only 7 points out of a possible 21 in the second half of the 2025 MPFL season. The management has made it clear that both the coaching crew and other backroom staff must improve their performance in the next 3 games or face sanctions. The Owena Waves lost 3-0 to Holders Rangers in their last game. They will host Kwara United at the Remo Star Stadium, Ikenne, on Saturday. And on to the foreign scene. As Muslims around the world begin observing the holy month of Ramadan, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has issued a message wishing peace and unity to those observing the sacred month. Guterres expressed his warmest wishes to Muslims worldwide and reflected on the values of compassion, empathy, and generosity that define Ramadan. The Secretary General noted that Ramadan is not only a time for spiritual reflection, but also an opportunity to reconnect with family and community and to remember those who are less fortunate. He dedicated a special part of his message to those enduring displacement and violence, offering his support to individuals in regions such as Gaza, Sudan, the Sahel, and other areas affected by conflict and hardship. In his message, the Secretary General expressed his unwavering solidarity with those suffering and called for peace and mutual respect. Guterres also shared his annual tradition of visiting Muslim communities across the globe during Ramadan, where he fasts with them to reaffirm the values of Islam and remind the world of its true faith. The Secretary General concluded his message by calling on people around the world to be uplifted by the values of Ramadan, urging them to embrace their shared humanity and work together to build a more just and peaceful world. With that, we've come to the end of the Midday News on OSBC TV. Join us at 3 for the State News. Good afternoon.